everyone. So, am I going to be homeless? Let's talk about that. This is the day the rent is due, and I have shared about going through a divorce and having absolutely zero from a divorce. Even if you have thousands saved, you go through a divorce and you will be stripped of every little penny you have if that's the way it goes, right? So I've had to deal with divorce care. I've had to maintain a place that I did not choose, really. I mean, I did and I didn't. So I had a son whose wife walked out on him. Um, and she got the military benefits, so she was all happy. And once those ran out, she walked out. So my son's like, I need a roommate. This happened last minute. Same time we lost housing in New Hampshire because the landlord wanted to sell. So I had already not really trusted this landlord. And sure enough, with him putting the rent up at 300 and then wanting more, it was just between a rock and a hard place. So I did have all financial decisions to make, and I did make them. And my husband took a fit because I let the house go. He was like, "You can get out of the house and I'll stay here," even though I got that house for him. I mean, I was like, he was kind of, pressing against me, saying, "Let's get this home," kind of under his breath when we were waiting for Mike to write up the papers. "Come on, let's get it, let's get it." I'm like, "I don't know, I don't know if I want this. Come on, it's got a garage, it's got this." So I made up my mind, and this was my choice, and I thought, yeah, my husband has worked for years, he deserves a garage, and he's like, we'll work around him. So that's what I get for being nice, right? So he, in the end, was being very rotten, and there's no question about his verbal and emotional abuse. So I didn't push him back when he pushed me. I mean, I should have. A lot of women were like, "Oh my goodness, I'd slam him if a guy ever touched me. I would slam him." So there was another time he was taking my words completely out of context. He's like, come on, you want to hit me right here. Come on. And he was just being very provoking. And so, yeah. So you go through a divorce, and even if you have money, like even if that house was ours, it would have been fought over. It would have been just really, not a good situation. Even if you have a house, I am very fortunate. My kids were not little, and I didn't have to worry about custody. So, trying to stay on my feet, having a car that went. Luckily, I had called my loans, and there is no loan anymore in my name. Not sure what happened, so that's a good thing. That was something my husband did not want to pay. He pretty much wanted me to be barefoot and pregnant, which I didn't really have a problem with, right? I was busy taking care of my kids. It's a gift I have. I love kids. I loved my kids. And even now, I've, thought about teaching, and I'm just like, I don't know. I put like 30 years into my kids. I don't know if I want to do it again. So here I am teaching online, which fits me better. I'm not a real institutional type of teaching person. I like to teach in life as I go along. So, anyways, you're trying to stay on your feet. String of bad jobs here. I was even told the jobs here are awful. And then when you do get a job, it takes them forever to get back to you over here. So I've been like, if I can't find work, I'm going to have to go back to New Hampshire and, just find more work. So, no, I will not be homeless. I had a friend last night who wanted to give me something, and plus I have another plan. And, I usually have 3 or 4 plans. There's a church today that's supposed to help, but we'll see. And then there's another backup plan. So, yeah. So when you have to go through this stuff, the worst case scenario, I was thinking worst case. Just go, get in my truck. My truck needs front end work, but try to get that fixed. And then head over to New Hampshire and live in my truck. And I wouldn't have a problem with that except for the cold. And even then, they have shelters up there. They have, there's a lot that, is offered, or live in my truck here. And there's a lot, you can do in your truck. You don't, I mean, you're better off usually in your truck than in a shelter. In the shelter, there's bed bug bites, there's, bed bugs, there's all kinds of things. So there are people out there who purposely work remotely on their computers. They stay in their van, they fix it up, whatever, and they enjoy the challenge. So, luckily for me, that's not happening, and God is always taking care of me. And I'm not saying He doesn't care about those who are homeless, but He does send trials that shape us and mold us to be more like Him. And I think if we can look at our trials that way and, really think about that, I think that is the way we should look at life. I had shared some more about my divorce with people, and, it's truly sad. It's truly sad that over nothing my husband has wanted to divorce. And many times, I mean, when I had 3 little ones and he came home and he wanted to divorce me over nothing, uh, looking back, I'm like, he went over to his parents. They cornered him, shamed him for not paying $110 in a mortgage that, we didn't have the money because he had cancer, and he had a low paying job. And I said, you know what? Food is going to be on the table first. It's always going to be food, and our kids will be taken care of. So I had gone to the city of Concord and got a lot of help with everything. And so we were behind, and then I had a deferment, and we were behind. And you know what? The bills can wait. They can wait when you are struggling. So he had come home, and I was like, "How'd it go over your parents?" "I don't want to talk to you." "What? What?" And I had 3 little ones. They were all like under what, 6? Under, no, this happened in 96. So yeah, they were like 3, 4 years old. Plus I was expecting. And he was like, "I don't want to talk to you." I'm like, "What is the matter?" I've known him since second grade. So he didn't like how he was treated. And he's like, "Don't talk to me. I think I want a divorce." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, I'm like, "What happened?" And I pushed him, right? And, not physically, but pushed him to tell me. And he was telling me, and I'm like, "So, what else are you not telling me?" And he wouldn't tell me the truth. And so I had a feeling that there was money in his car. So I went in his car, and I went in the glove box, and I found an envelope of money. And I'm like, "Well, what is this?" And he's like, "That's for the electric. Don't touch that. I'm not supposed to tell you. My parents told me not to tell you, to keep your dirty hands off my money," which was our money because I was also working. And so they, his mother calls the electric company to find out how much we owed. I had called them and said, "We're going to be late." They're like, "Okay, we'll set up a payment arrangement." I said, "Ben, what do you want to do about this electric?" "I don't know." "Don't call him," he says. I said, "No, I got to call him." And then between the miscommunication, everything fell through and we had to shut off. And she was pretty vicious. She calls me and she's like, "How's it feel to be in the dark? How's it feel?" And I'm like, "It doesn't really bother me that much." So she is literally a witch. So she takes all her standards. Not only does she do, witchy stuff with astrology, but she takes all her standards and she puts them on me. "We always pay our bills on time." Good for you. Good for you. Not everyone can. So this is kind of what I had to put up with when I had 3 little ones and I couldn't really do anything about it. So I had to kind of go over there a little bit and tolerate her. But I was never the same after that. I was like, "I'll go over here, but I ain't gonna be your friend," and I kind of ignored her and just kind of went through the motions and just, shortly after I was like, "Yeah, we're not going over. We're not coming over much." And so then we had tried to work it out again. with a family reunion like 2019. They're like, oh, we put everything behind us. Let's just get along, and his dad had cancer. So we were like, okay, let's just try to put things behind us. And then all of a sudden, my husband turns his back on me, and they're like, we got him without her. So, when my kids were little, thinking back, I probably should have taken more of a red flag approach and said, okay, get your stuff together, prepare to, really think about that, this was more serious than you thought, and you probably should have, been packed up and ready to have a second plan. So, he was really sorry. I didn't let him forget it right away. I did not. It took like 5 years. I was like, oh, so you want to divorce me, huh? And I brought it back up. And, it took a while to get through that one because so much trust was broken. I absolutely loved his parents when we started dating. And then they turned totally against me. And, because there was not the same relationship, they used money against us. And so when you see a red flag, ladies, when you see things going down and you're trying to restore it, have a backup plan because, this happened again, obviously. So I'm just really for the most part, I will forgive somebody and give them another chance. And, I was just like, okay, you're going to have to earn trust. And I trusted him again. So my whole point is not to ramble on, just sharing. Divorce is something that can tear you to pieces. I have an interview in about an hour and a half, 2 hours. Yeah, another interview. So I am on my feet financially. But yeah, I will be moving forward and I have all the freedom now. I have cut things off with this whole divorce thing and take my energy and put it back onto me. So there is no point of being dragged through the mud. That's exactly what his non-attorney wanted to do. He wanted me to go to New Hampshire, have witnesses. There would be a lot of witnesses in the church. There would be, to my character, what kind of, person am I? The courts haven't even asked, does this sound like her? Does this sound like her? I'm always helping people, absolutely loved my family. I actually gave up my life to stay home and love my kids. I love my family. I love my husband. Scripture talks about loving your husband and your children. So does this narrative that he put together about me fit with who I am? Not at all. Not at all. That I actually left him in his truck when I was actually trying to find, housing from here. Doesn't make sense, right? So he wanted out. He wanted out before, and he's got it. And it takes a lot of courage and a lot of strength to do that, to say, okay, you want out, there you go. So it is definitely over. I don't care what he does. I don't care if he won the lottery. I don't care. We are done. And, after a while, you keep forgiving somebody. You keep, having them break your trust. You put up with the lies. You put up with the, looking at other women when he's married to me. You just, after a while, you're like, enough is enough. This is actually who you are. This is who you are. It's not a flaw. It's not it's not like an accident. It's like you're an actual, your character is actually like this. This is how you are. So you can love someone with a Christ-like love. We talked in our Bible study about people who have hurt you. Like my father, he disowned me, and that was on him. And, we talked about even like my birthdays. I never got a happy birthday. I never got a gift. Not until I had my firstborn son. And all of a sudden, he's in my life wanting to be a grandfather. And I'm like, too bad. Too bad you had your chance for 20-something years and you didn't work on a relationship with me. So a lot of women, like if their father liked football or like mine liked archery, you push away from that. You're like, I'm not really, going to give my time to that because there's a lot of pain in that. There's a lot of hurt with, just a father who's totally disappointed you and hurt you in life. So, even nowadays, like I see a father and a little girl, and that can definitely bring up, you know, memories of hurt for women. So you want to now, once you heal from the abortion, you want to get into the father-daughter issues. A lot of women have father issues. You want to get into that, dive in to that with other women and how they were treated. And it's not, it's not basically who you are. And I had listened to a woman last night put it this way, and it was interesting to me. So my father probably won't give me anything. And a lot of fathers don't. They're very vengeful. They won't give their kids anything unless they feel like the kid does everything that they want, right? Under honor their parents. So everything's probably going to my sibling. And a lady was talking about that, how something had gone to her sibling, like everything went to her sibling. And she was just like, if it was her, she would have shared. This sibling did not, and she was really hurt by that. And she was saying what she realized is you can't take 2 bags of gold to heaven with you. And that hit home. It's like, yeah, you cannot take the world, you cannot serve mammon, you cannot have 2 masters in this life and take both with you to heaven. God says, money doesn't last. What anyone has in this world, it does not last. So when you have Christ instead of the world, you are actually more blessed. So the homelessness doesn't matter as much. It doesn't matter what you go through the trials in life. It's that you have Christ. And I went to this thing with a mission trip coming up to Uganda, and I went there, and I'm thinking about giving more of my life to God's work. There's a mission trip in Peru too that I'm thinking about. But if I do the one in Uganda, that is with a safari after on the Nile River. So that sounds really cool, And this is with people who donate money. They donate because they don't want to, they don't want to or they can't do the actual work on a mission trip. So they donate their money and they have, they support those who are willing to go out. So I am thinking about it, and we'll see what happens next. Okay, thanks for joining me, guys.